Huh. Well, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Del Valley Sports Pod. This is episode number 49. It's been a couple weeks since we've been on. A few weeks ago, I was very under the weather. And then last weekend, Senor DG3 got married. So there was
Oh
there was
yeah.
some things to do post wedding. So it's been a few weeks since we've been on. A couple of things have happened: a Saints game, a Buccaneers game. The Phillies have started, but we're not going to talk about the Eagles tonight. I would like to welcome in my buddy Matt Bell alongside DG3, and we are here to live react to what was an absolute shit show by your Philadelphia Phillies. Gentlemen, how are we feeling?
First of all, thank you guys for having me on. It's a pleasure to be on. And Dan, congratulations on tying the knot.
Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. Um, that makes me feel that conversation, that kind of content makes me feel slightly better. But overall, we're feeling pretty bummed out, of course, this evening.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start by saying I was excited to be going up against Sean Manaea because my memory of just shelling him in the NLCS 2 years ago was that's when it really felt like this Phillies team was a team of destiny and going to the World Series. It seems like every they put together good at bats against him 2 years ago, and I was excited to face him. And then they start the broadcast with this footage of they had to move the pitch machine to the left a couple feet pregame, and the Phillies are making all these weird lineup adjustments, and I'm like, is this the same guy? And in the eighth inning, Adam Wainwright and AJ start talking about he literally went to a pitch doctor and started pitching like Chris Sale. So it's not metaphorically that he's a different pitcher than the one the Phillies faced 2 years ago. He's literally a different pitcher, and it took the broadcast like 8 innings to really drive that point home. So I'm sitting there like, is this the same guy? And it's quite literally a different pitcher. So good for the Mets. Good for him. I'm glad he fixed whatever it was that the Phillies were locked in on 2 years ago. But it's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, they mentioned it time and time again how he struggled earlier this season. Went to some guy. He changed up his entire pitching rotation movement mid-season and has been a different player since. They were 23-9 on the season with him at bat. And I heard stats earlier of Phillies batters against him, all of which were really good. So I was going into this Nola, Manaea, the Phillies are good against him. This should be a win, and not to be so.
Absolutely
Yeah,
not. Dan, what do you
if
think?
yeah, they waited till the eighth inning. They really hedged their bets with that content there, and that business is going to be booming. By the way, with whoever I don't know if they I can't remember if they name dropped. I think they gave the
They
company
did. They
name or
did. I
whatever it
can't
was.
remember.
So good for them. But maybe look for some of our bullpen arms to be giving them some calls or emails here in the near future. But no, it felt like because of the history that they mentioned, it felt like a guy that, man, if we could have jumped on him early, he would have had some of those memories pop back into his head. It would have gave us a shot to maybe get in his head, rat him a little bit, and have him have that, oh no, not again, you know?
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, it almost feels like 2 years ago. The Phillies were in some of these low scoring games when they went on the World Series run, but like game one NLCS, Yu Darvish made two mistakes and the Phillies jumped on them. It's like this year, it's the Mets that are jumping on them, and those two runs early on could make a difference for how Aaron Nola was attacking the strike zone, for how the Phillies aligned certain things defensively, and it's like 2 years ago the Phillies were jumping on it, and this year it's the Mets. And um, I don't. What do you guys think about rolling Ranger out for Game 4? You think it's going to be Ranger from years past, or you think they're going to have a short leash with him?
Dan, go ahead.
I think that regardless of the Ranger situation and what he's going through, I think it's a short leash no matter what, simply because it's win or go home.
Yeah.
So I think regardless of apart from Wheeler, I feel like no matter who the pitcher is, the leash is going to be super super short because they got to pull out all the stops. I did pull up the stats about Mets hitters against Ranger. Um, and they're not bad. Like, he doesn't have awful stats against the Mets. He hasn't let up a lot of home runs. He's not let up more than one home run against any one given hitter. Which is I feel like I could have told you Pete Alonso was going to homer today. His stats against Nola are pretty insane. I think that was his fifth ever home run against Nola or something, fourth or fifth. But I don't know. Looking at the stats, they don't look so bad. But I don't think that. I would imagine that he goes through the lineup a maximum of 2 times. I would be
Yeah,
very surprised if he went more than that.
I tend to agree. Although none of it's going to matter if the Phillies, it's almost like towards the end of the game when all the pressure is off and the Phillies started driving in runs on some singles. It's like that's how they swing in the regular season when the pressure is off. It's almost like that proved the point that we already knew about this team is that they're just completely different hitters. I mean, that was the regular season Phillies hitting in that eighth inning, but the key was it was already 6-0 at that point. So that's what really frustrated me the most was you sort of got a glimpse of how they hit all season or for most of the season. But at that point, it was just too little, too late. Berger, what do you think?
I don't care what Ranger does. The offense needs to show up in the first 5 innings. They mentioned it tonight how Schwarber has the only run batted in all 3 games in the first 5 innings, and that was his leadoff home run in Game 1. This team is a very, very vibes-driven team, like good feelings coming from the dugout, and when they do not score early, that top of the lineup, if they're not getting on base, they're chasing pitches. I mean, Turner, Harper, they're all chasing pitches. And from the Diamondback series of last year through to now in the playoffs, they seem like a different offense, at least in the playoffs. I mean, early in the season, obviously they were raking. They were on an unbelievable tear. Second half of the season, it was hit or miss. But when it comes down to it in the playoffs, the last, I would say, 7 playoff games that they've had, the offense, at least at the top of the lineup, is not performing to the capabilities that they should have. Now, I'm
going to push
nervous.
back on that a little bit, Colin. I actually don't see it that way. The bottom of the lineup has been anemic, man. I mean, when the Mets get past Castellanos, they're like, "Whew, we're good for another inning and a half." It's look at the stats. It's unbelievable. Marsh, I don't think he's had a hit yet. JT, no one's talking about JT. We love JT.
hasn't gotten a hit,
JT has been garbage. The bottom of the lineup it's been just a rest point for the Mets pitchers. And I know that the stats aren't huge, but like they're locking in against the top of the lineup. I'm seeing good at bats from Schwarber. I thought Schwarber was excellent today with a really tough lefty-lefty matchup. I thought he had some really good at bats. I thought Turner looked okay. And I thought Harper, that's a tough matchup. That's a sick lefty-lefty matchup, and I still thought the at-bats were okay. The middle bottom of the lineup is they're not giving you production, and they're not really giving good at-bats either.
I think I think just like with a lot of things, like your takeaways from a game and like your level of happiness for a game is the difference between expectation and reality. And I think a lot of Phillies fans, myself included, did not appreciate how different of a pitcher Sean Manaea was. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's Pedro Martinez or like Kyle Kendrick. If you shell someone 2 years ago in the biggest moment, you're feeling confident against him. And the Phillies may have faced him, I think, once last year. I mean, he was in the NL West, so maybe once or twice. I haven't looked it up, but not enough for Sean Manaea to have flipped from someone that I felt confident against to someone that I feared. And as the game went on, it was like the starting realization that Schwarber can't see it out of his hand, Harper can't see it out of his hand. And then on the flip side, Adam Wainwright was talking about Aaron Nola was throwing this low fastball that he was locating sometimes that Pete Alonso refused to swing at. He wouldn't even flinch at it. And Adam Wainwright said he could have that pitch all night long. And it's the subtle differences between Sean Manaea being able to locate the pitches that the Phillies that were 0% chance for the Phillies versus Aaron Nola just not going back to the well on the 0% chance fastballs against Pete Alonso. Like that's a very, if you're not watching 100 plus games of baseball, you're not picking up on that. That's a very subtle difference, but that's ultimately what can win or lose a game like this, is that Aaron Nola couldn't keep locating the pitch that Pete Alonso couldn't hit, and Sean Manaea could. And I think that's where the game sort of started and ended. That's sort of my main takeaway from this.
Dan?
And I just kind of backing up. I had some stats pulled up here. Think about it, as far as the whole series goes, the Phillies regular season, the guy with the second most hits on the team, the second most RBIs, and all-star, at points you could argue is the best hitter on the team. He was benched game 2 because of how bad he is. So, like, of course that's going to have an effect on the offensive production. This was the guy that was bringing in almost more runs than everybody. You know, he was I during the year there was an argument that he was one of the best number 4 hitters, if not the best in the league, because he didn't hit with the same kind of power as your old school number 4 guy, but he put the ball in play, he hit doubles, and he brought those guys in. So
I agree. I think once we get some distance from this season, I mean, it's one thing to see on paper going to the playoffs that Alec Bohm is 2 for his last 28, but you're thinking if Bryce is hitting them to the moon like he has in the past 2 postseasons, Schwarber's hitting them to the moon, that's not going to matter. Once we get some distance, and the Phillies are probably going to lose this series, but once we get some distance from this season in a month or 6 weeks or so, we're going to say JT wasn't the same after his injury. Trey wasn't the same because he wasn't a base stealing threat. All these small, Alec Bohm clearly wasn't the same. All these small things that
since the hand, right?
Yeah, all these things.
Bone, whatever it was. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's gonna make so much. It's gonna be like, yeah, of course the Phillies were a shell of themselves. It just, when you're so locked in the playoffs and you have Wheeler and Nola and this great pitching staff and all these, big names in the lineup, it doesn't seem like such a big deal. It's almost like if these same exact things happened to the New York Mets, who have such small margin for error because they are mid in so many areas, it would seem like a much bigger deal. If something happened to Jesse Winker, it would seem like a huge deal. But the Phillies have had to deal with that for a bunch of different players, and it hasn't seemed like a big deal because they won the division. They didn't have to play the last week of the season. I don't think it's an issue with having the week off, and I think the Phillies losing this series is going to perpetuate the story that they advanced the 2 years that they didn't have the week off, and they didn't the year that they did, and that's all. But I don't think it has anything to do with the week off. I think it has to do with the Phillies just not fully recovering from a number of situations that ultimately showed themselves against a pitching staff that's like pretty locked in.
Yeah, absolutely. And this team that we're watching right now is not the same team that we saw back in May and June. That's fairly obvious. But this team built up such a lead back then that they had been coasting in a way. And not that they lost focus or whatnot, but they didn't have to battle with the same intensity that the Mets did to make the playoffs. And that's kind of the way it was with the Phillies in 2022. And it's circumstantial. It sucks because we saw how good this team could have been and was. They had injuries, they had time off. It's frustrating to see where it was, how good this team could be, and where it is right now. I'm not saying, I'm going on the record here, I'm not saying this series is over. I could definitely see them winning tomorrow and going back to Philly, and then there's all bets are off once that's the case. But
that's the thing. I think if they win tomorrow, we are all going to feel like they can win the series because of coming home and Wheeler being able to pitch again and all that. And obviously we're more negative because we just watched an awful baseball game. So listeners, when you listen to this, it's we're not it's over, but that was an awful watch.
it's almost like tomorrow they need like a Jamie Moyer, like someone who will keep the Mets off balance. They don't need not that Rangers is really known for his fastball, but they don't need overpowering stuff tomorrow. They need something to keep the vibes at bay until their offense, until there's a 430-foot blast from Bryce or Schwarber. They need to keep the Mets off balance. They need to get up. They don't need an overpowering pitching. Like Wheeler could not have been better in game 1, and that didn't even work. So they really need like a 2008 Jamie Moyer, just keep them guessing type pitching performance tomorrow. I think Reginger's capable of that for a number of innings, but then like the bullpen has been awful. Like who's gonna
It's
you have to
wild.
walk yourself through each inning tomorrow. Like who's gonna pitch the third, who's gonna pitch the fourth? Like it's anybody's guess at this point. They'll, to your point, they'll run guys into the ground because it's the last game of the season. It's just going to be, from a neutral perspective, it'll be interesting to see how the Phillies handle tomorrow.
And the only reason I put the onus on the offense, yes, the bullpen has been bad, but the fact that you wasted a gem by Zach Wheeler in Game 1 where he went 7 innings, 0 earned runs, and you couldn't score more than 1 run, or no, he gave up. Sorry, one run, right? And they were yeah. If you had scored 2, they probably would have let him go into the 8th inning. Completely changes that game, but the offense was non-existent in Game 1. And that put them behind the 8 ball, and it is showing it still.
I mean, I think because of the way the game went too, I think he pitched like 112 pitches. I think that they said it was the most he'd ever. I don't know if it was in a postseason game or any game ever. Honestly, it could have been either because it really was. He went very deep into that game, but yeah, this team is. It's weird to say that this team is built on hitting because they do have some studs, including Wheeler. But when you think of the Phillies, I think that most people think of a team that is built on hitting. They not so much the defense, and yes, clearly invest in the pitching, but it's a team that expects to win because they score runs, not because they pitch shutouts.
That's right. And and it concerns me that the offense is locked in more or less. A lot of the big names are locked in. I don't think they're getting Juan Soto this offseason. So it's like they're really going to need to improve at the margins, at the Pedro Feliz margins, and, retool for next year. And next year will be interesting because the Mets will be in it. The Nationals will be 500. The Braves will be good. It's almost as if the Phillies, like the winning this year was nice, but like, I don't know. You guys are being games for. I'm already thinking about what is this team going to look like in August of 2025. I'm just going through my head. When is the last time a Philadelphia sports team came back from backs against the wall to win a series? The 2011 against the Bruins, but like, has there been one since then? I don't know. I don't think so. So it's like I'm not conditioned. There are these cities that like have these histories of great comebacks, and like the Eagles have done it in big games, but I'm just not conditioned when I go down to, the Sixers certainly don't condition you for comebacks. When they're down in a series, the series is over. That's just how it is. And
nothing about the Sixers makes me think
and the
of
Phillies
any kind of comeback.
And the Phillies have been so good the past 2 postseasons that they haven't been down in a series. So you literally have to look to probably the 2010 San Francisco Giants series when I think they went down 3-1 and forced a Game 6 with a Game 5 win. Like, so there's no like recent track record for any Philadelphia sports team being down in a crucial series and turning it around. So I hope you guys are right. I'm already looking ahead to 2025 and into Eagles Browns, but I appreciate this. Someone had to be Johnny Raincloud here.
and listen, to your point, if we're going super recent history, as in Philadelphia sports in the last couple of years, this feels like it's been a little bit of the storyline from the Phillies to the Eagles last year to the freaking Philadelphia Union blowing a game at the very last minutes of their, like, it feels like I think the Philadelphia sports fans do feel like there's a little bit of I know the Negladelphia thing, but I think that this is different than that. I feel like it feels in the last couple of years there's like a little bit of curse we're trying to get through here, get over. But
I agree.
Hey, but then eternal optimist, of course. It makes you think, what's the flip side of that? Miracle quote, right? Great moments are born from great opportunity, right, boys?
I mean, they're down 2-1. They're down 2-1 against the Mets. It's all you could ask for from both like a Phillies fan and neutral fan perspective. Like, this is great neutral viewing, even though the Phillies can't hit. This is still good neutral viewing baseball. So yeah, the Phillies have it right in front of them. I'm gonna before I hop, guys. Do we want to? I don't know how you normally run this, but I'll give my prediction for how the rest of this goes down if we want to go around.
By all means.
All right.
And one thing, go on with what you were, but I do have one question, Matt, before you leave. But go on.
All right. Let's do predictions, and then I'll leave on a Q&A. I think that the Phillies are going to hit tomorrow more consistently. I don't know if they're going to score 7 runs like they did in game 2. I think certain guys in the lineup will hit. Just when you seem to JT Real Mutu has this way of just when you seem to forget about him, he puts together a couple, big like doubles and home runs. He's been that way for the past 5 years since he's been on the Phillies. I think JT will knock in some runs if he has guys on base tomorrow. I think Trey Turner will finally wake up. All these guys who are like world class hitters for certain parts of their career, it's tough to go 4 games and not show that at all. So I don't know who exactly, but I think some real power hitters on the Phillies are going to hit tomorrow. And I don't necessarily think it'll be Ranger that that is the reason that the season is over. I think he'll probably give you what he gave you in Game 7 against the Diamondbacks, which is a couple of runs over maybe 1.5 times through the lineup. There's something wrong with the bullpen. Like I don't see the bullpen being able to gobble innings the way that the way that they did over the course of the season. Like I think it'll be one of the more high scoring games of the series. I think the Phillies will have a lead at certain points throughout the middle innings, but I think this is the Mets 3-1, and then I'll go ahead and say that the Padres also finish off the Dodgers in either 4 or 5. So my official prediction on October 8th is Padres Mets NLCS. Go ahead.
I definitely see the Padres beating the Dodgers tomorrow. I'm just trying to speak this into the atmosphere. I hope Ranger gives them 4 decent innings, and the Phillies are up, 2-1 in the 5th, and they just find some way at the bottom of the lineup when it turns to Schwarber to keep the Mets at bay. And yeah, the bullpen has just sucked. And I think that might be part of the layoff thing, is that they didn't pitch for 6-7 days. And they're used to going every day, every other day, and they're out of their routine. Pitchers are creatures of habit. But I'm saying 4-2 Phillies tomorrow. I'm not making a prediction on Game 7 because I just want to get through tomorrow. But I'm willing this.
We'll
into the
circle back
atmosphere.
on Game 5.
Yeah.
All right, I like it.
We'll see what happens then.
All right, Dan, you're the tiebreaker.
Yeah, I think that we are gonna see. I'm kind of feeling the same way as far as it just feels like the bats are gonna do something tomorrow, at least a little bit more. I don't know how you guys feel about how Bohm looked today. He stroked that one single. It was like, man, this guy's got to be feeling like nothing is going his way right now when he couldn't make it the second on that play. But he stroked
then he
that
couldn't
ball
beat
nonetheless.
Yeah, the one that Vientos digged out also that he grounded out on. I mean, probably 25 out of 30 Major League third baseman run that out. So just by being, a bad runner, not a horrible runner. If he's just playing bad, he's halfway to the cycle with a single and a double. So the double pissed me off, but the backhand by Vientos also pissed me off.
It will never cease to amaze me just how slow Casty and Bohm are. It blows my mind every time because they have such long legs, they're such big guys, and they just don't move. It's so weird.
But they're so complete in so many other ways. Yeah, it's almost like that's where they didn't have enough points on the video game creative player for any speed.
That's right. I like that.
Yeah, because Bohm is so good with so many other things fundamentally at the plate. Yeah.
They took all their backyard baseballs and filled
Wheeler.
up the other.
He's great at everything except running.
Exactly.
In lieu of backyard baseball, making a comeback, eh?
Yes, sir.
Exactly.
But I actually think that if it is going to go tomorrow, it's going to need to be a Bohm or a JT. And I'm going to put my money on Bohm having a big hit. I'm also thinking we're going to see a Schwarber bomb tomorrow. I really thought he looked locked in today. And I didn't think that they really threw him too many mistake pitches, if one at all. I thought he looked really good and has recently. And he's had some really tough matchups. It's another lefty tomorrow. but he's seen Quintana a good bit. I think Schwarber's going to hit a big one tomorrow, and I'd love if we could set the table for him. So I actually think the Phils are going to score some runs tomorrow, but there's no way the Mets aren't going to score runs because just look at the team they've been. I mean, and I'll say this before I make the prediction. The Mets in all of like the clutch stats hitting wise have been unbelievable. It's like the 7th, 8th, 9th inning stats are unbelievable. The third time through the lineup, the 2 strikes. I think it was the first game we played. We got it was the inning where they had like 5 singles. There were so many counts that were 2 strike counts and like 1-2 counts. And these guys battle, man, and they're hitting in such clutch situations, and it really is so many different guys in the lineup, but it's kind of that immeasurable thing where it's like they're just super locked in and they got that weird magical thing going on. And then obviously the like home runs to tie and take the lead and all that. But so I think I'm hoping that we can win tomorrow, but it's going to take some runs. So I'll go Phils 5, Mets 4.
All right.
And Bomer and Schwarby
I like that.
at the
All
helm.
right, so Matt, I know you got to run, but one thing that we have done in the latter stages of this podcast is going off of the number of the episode. So this is episode number 49, and he and I go back and forth with bringing out a bust-out number of a Philadelphia athlete that maybe someone's forgot about, maybe someone who was a flash in the pan at some time. Do you have a number 49 that sticks out in your head of a Philadelphia athlete that somebody forgot about that should be mentioned?
That's a tough
I
one to
think
spot
John
on.
Ritchie was 49. Should we look that up?
Let me check.
I could be wrong about that.
I have a
checking.
40. I have a 49 from the Eagles that I was thinking about, but
Fact
it was
check me.
48.
Oh, that was good.
So I would have
That
gotten
was
it on the last
close.
one.
Right there. Wow.
Close.
I knew it was a lot easier back then because it was just a player at a certain position was one of 8 numbers. Now I'm so bad at numbers because you could be anything.
Mhm.
But for the early up until 5 years ago, I'm pretty good with numbers. How about you guys? Off the top of your head, do you have any 49s?
I'm pretty sure. Oh God, now I'm blanking on his name. I had it the whole time. The guy, linebacker for the Eagles, came from the Canadian Football League. Alex Singleton.
Alex Singletary, yeah.
Oh wow.
Or Singletary. Yeah,
Wow.
I believe
Yeah,
The
he has
Canadian football. Yeah, did you say that Canadian Football League guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great hair. He had the hair for the position. I think he's still playing actually.
He is? He's still starting
I swear
linebacker.
I saw
He's on the
him,
Broncos. Yeah, he's on
I
the
was
Broncos.
gonna guess Broncos.
Yeah.
I'll take partial credit for that one.
I like this. I mean, 50's Jamie Moyer. I don't know. I won't steal your guys' thunder for the next episode. I like the.
I
I like the
had
number. Yeah.
to double check it, but I do believe that actually one of my favorite Phillies for a time growing up is like a little kid wore 49. He was do you have any guesses off the top of your head? Con, I might have told this to you already. 49, we're talking probably like late 90s, early 2000s Phillies. When they stunk. They stunk.
Ricky Metallica. I don't know.
Nobody was pitcher. Closer.
I can't think of one.
Tell me.
Jose Mesa.
Oh, nice.
I used to,
Mr.
dude, I used to
Table.
love Jose Mesa.
Joe Table.
Mr. Table, that's right.
Jody
Yeah.
Tables.
I think we did talk about this once because you had mentioned that. I took French in high school. And that's Spanish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it Mesa is table?
Yeah.
Joe Table. Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
a good one.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, it's been a pleasure. Thank
Yeah,
you for
boys.
hopping on. I know you're out there in LA, so you got a whole night ahead of you, but
Yeah.
appreciate you joining. And, I'll be texting you tomorrow, and hopefully we have a better outcome than tonight.
At least we got one Garrett Stubbs reaction at a burger in the series.
At least one.
That was spot on. All right, guys.
Good
Peace
stuff,
out.
Matt.
Matt,
Later.
thank you.
See ya.
Oh, man.
Good people. Good people.
Yeah, Matt's a good guy. I've known him since we were literally 4 years old in kindergarten. He was the guy that took me to my first Eagles game, the 44-6 game back in 2008 against the Cowboys.
Oh, wow.
It was his family who had the club box tickets that I got to witness one of the greatest moments in Eagles history live, which was
Wow.
fun. So he's also the guy that I've gone
2008
on.
was a good year for the
Yeah,
Eagles.
it was a good year. That was also it's the guy who I've gone on away Eagles trips with to Miami, Vegas, and Phoenix. We haven't gone one the last 2 years, and we're getting older. He lives in LA. I live out here now, so
One of my favorite things, by the way, about baseball that it has over, I think, every other sport is I love that it's a clean year. It's a clean year.
yes.
It's the best, dude. I hate. We got to find a better way to deal with that. I don't know how. It might change some. We might need to make some big changes to the calendar in order to make that happen. But I love it's a clean year.
Baseball, there's no question, it's a clean year. Football is pretty much, you talk about the full regular season year, like it was the 2017 Eagles, even though they won the Super Bowl in 2018.
That's the thing though. That's where it really messes up though, because they won the Super Bowl in the year of 2018.
Yeah.
But it's the 2017 season, and that that doesn't sit well. I
agree. I agree.
If I get a tattoo on me, what does it say? And it can't be 17-18. That just doesn't look clean either.
No.
Like it's just.
Well, if you say 2017 Super Bowl, technically you would be talking about the Patriots beating the Falcons.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, dude. And I don't want that inked on my body. That's for damn sure.
That's why you go by the numeral of the. It's always the numeral.
Which is a whole nother ball game.
Yeah, because then you got to do math. And I'm always like, my dad was born in 65, and so is the Super Bowl. So how old is my dad?
I'm the third. Man. I know I haven't gotten past that yet.
IV is not what you need on Saturday. It is 4.
IV 4.
IV is 4. Yeah, so I actually gotta run out to the course. I gotta take care of something. I'm not in trouble this time. I just gotta go shut some pumps off.
All right.
But yeah, this was therapeutic in a way, and I'm excited to go watch some Padres Dodgers. Electric series so far.
I gotta say, all of these series, and if we were to able to like take ourselves out of the frustrations of the Phillies Mets series, all of these series have been pretty awesome in their own way too.
Except for, did you catch this last night? Did you listen and or watch to the Yankees Royals?
Yes. I was working, but
did you hear Bob Costas at the end of the game?
No, what did he do? How old is Bob? 75?
Bob is way too fucking old to be in a broadcast booth. Excuse my French.
What did he do?
He's the biggest Yankees homer I've ever heard on a broadcast booth ever. So the Yankees have first and second, bottom 9 looking to score, and they hit it directly to shortstop. Fields double play, and I forget who it was that it was up at bat, but he's like, "Oh, here's the liner to the shortstop. Is it going to be a double play?" Yes, it is, and the Yankees lose.
Oh, that sucks, dude.
I'm like,
really? I hate that.
That's worse than Al Michaels when he was so disinterested in football and was clearly betting one team. It was like he was the hometown announcer. It was. You have to look this up.
You know what, dude? That stinks too, because they're playing the Royals, so no one's probably going to even no voice is going to be loud enough that is going to make a big deal out of it because of how big market, small market that is. That's a shame. That's sad. And I don't like with the Dodgers Fathers series. I love the Dodgers commentator is, I think, one of the best, and he did a great job with the Phillies playoff series. Is it Joe Davis?
Yes. Yeah,
he's wonderful. He's really
Dodgers, good. Well, he's the Fox playoffs guy, but he's also the Dodgers play-by-play during the year. He took the job from what's his name? Vin Scully. Vin Scully. There it is. That guy.
I could see it.
How do we blank on a legend?
Well, I had it. I just couldn't figure out.
Skull.
Skull. No, and I remember when he took that job, he was like, he was really adamant on keeping the ability to do national games. Like he refused the job at first, I think, because they weren't giving him the national games at first. But so you're probably just going to tell me it's a Fox thing, and that's why he's doing it. But it should be a rule. It should be a rule that you cannot, if you are associated with a club, you should not be able to do national broadcasts that include your club because I think it's fair to say that either A, it's going to be impossible for you to be 100% impartial, or B, it's just not fair for the opposing team to hear the voice of that team, even if you are being kind of impartial. It's just not fair.
No,
It's not
fine.
fair. And there's
I don't disagree.
There's so many great broadcasters in all of baseball. I wish that they just took even just if it was they just took like play-by-play guys, and then if they want to use former players or whatever to fill in for the other stuff, whatever. But I wish that they picked just neutral team guys that are really good at their job. Like the Phillies, dude, that guy does a lot of other stuff apart from the Phillies, McCarthy.
Oh yeah, T-Mac.
I wish that they put him on an AL League series or something like that. I don't know.
Well,
I know it doesn't work like that because I know it's companies and networks and all that stuff, but I think it should not be allowed. That there's no reason for a club commentator to be in that position. That's not fair to the opposing team, I don't think.
I want to say the reason T-Mac does not do playoff baseball is because, well, one, I think he's also on the radio for the Phillies with Fransky in LA. Yes. But also he does football on Sundays. So
Westwood
1.
Westwood 1.
Yeah.
And he's good. Dude, he's good. He's the best.
Basketball, baseball, football. He does all three.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, to your point on that, and we should wrap this up soon, but I want to hear Tom McCarthy if he's doing a Sunday night or a Monday night game that involves the Eagles. I want to actually hear him do that and see if there's a bipartisanship there.
Yeah.
Because he's not the Eagles commentator. He's the Phillies, but it's the same market. And there are 128 teams, whatever, in Major League Sports. There's going to be some crossover between commentators.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to hear, I'm pretty sure, not Al Michaels, Kenny Albert does like the Rangers play-by-play for hockey year round, and he's called
the guy with a real puffy face, right?
Yeah, short guy, black hair, puffy face, yeah.
and a surprisingly like big voice.
Oh yeah,
puffy
small
face,
guy,
big
booming voice.
Yeah.
This is Kenny Albert here. This is Fox NFL Sunday. Yeah, Kenny Albert's great. But I would love to like, I'm going to pay attention to that now. If I know an announcer from one sport is calling another sport from the same town, and just, it is what it is. There's a lot of things in sports that are intricate and fun to listen to. And that's why we pay attention. That's why we talk about it. So,
yes, sir.
Dan, I want to say once again, congratulations. That ceremony and festivities that you had was one of the funnest nights I have ever had. It was a pleasure being there, sir. I can't wait for more pictures and videos to come out of of everything.
Yes. Yeah. Glad you came, man. It was an absolute blast.
It was.
And I'm glad you had a good time. A lot of memories made that day, none of which had to do with the Philadelphia Eagles, but I'm glad we had all of that as a fun distraction.
Yeah, absolutely. That day would have sucked had it not been for your wedding, but because of seeing you and Jillian get married, it made the whole day way better. I literally
Colin
forgot about
busted
the
out
Eagles for like 30 seconds.
He led the crowd in a surprise rendition of Fly Eagles Fly, which was pretty magical, and then we actually opened the dance floor to that song. So
that was an honor. Thank you for letting me do that, and I definitely want to see a video if there is one.
Oh yeah, for sure. Video's pending.
Can't wait. All right, Dan. Yeah. To those of you who are still listening, thank you. You're crazy, but thank you. We will be back to Thursday, I think. Tentatively. I may be in North Carolina, but I will sneak away for a quick 20-minute, half-hour episode to preview the post by Eagles. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm so Phillies on the brain. Post by Eagles against the Browns, which is probably a must-win, and probably a must-win by a lot if we're going to have any faith in this team going forward.
Let's get healthy. Let's just get healthy. Let's get some wide receivers back on the team.
They are healthy. From what I hear, everybody's back. So let's see. Our
starting wide receiver last week was Dallas Goedert.
Yeah.
But we'll save it for Thursday.
Sounds good. All right, Dan. Love you, brother. And prayers up for our Philadelphia Phillies tomorrow, because I do not want Red October to end in the first 10 days.
Too soon. Too soon.
soon.
October has just begun, my friend. Let's keep it going. Let's wake up.
And like
Get
Happy Gilmore,
Get some good rest tonight, and then wake the heck up tomorrow.
please. And like Happy Gilmore said, it ain't over yet, McGavin. The way I see it, we've only just begun. And that has been episode number 49 of the Del Valley Sports Pod. Thank you all. We will talk to you next time.
Later.
Peace.